What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got more Xbox rumors to look at. Now, look, I'm not a fan of just repeating the same rumors over and over and over, and in some regard or in some way, this is kind of like that. At least part of the rumor we're going to talk about is, again, the idea of games coming to PlayStation and what the future kind of holds for Xbox. But I found, a few parts of this article from Video Games Chronicle to be kind of interesting. So I thought, let's just talk about it. Let's see what you guys think at home. So some publishers reportedly questioning support for Xbox amid flatlining sales is quite the headline, but it's backed up. It's what is being said. Now, it's a rumor, so you don't know for sure. It's definitely a headline, but that is what's basically being told. So this comes from Game Industry Biz head Chris Dring, who definitely, I recognize the name. I recognize even the Twitter profile, who said his takeaway from GDC last week was that he thinks that Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer. The other thing I heard it from a very prominent company and one not so prominent, was Xbox's performance in Europe is just flatlining, he said. You can follow our monthly coverage in the games market. You can see that Xbox sales are falling, and it's been falling all throughout last year, and it's falling even harder this year. The phrase one major company who released a big game last year said was, "I don't know why we bothered supporting it." We mentioned on a previous podcast that we heard retailers in Europe are considering or had already been cutting back their Xbox stock on their shelves, hardware, games, that kind of thing. And now you've got third-party publishers going, we're putting in a lot of effort to try to create a Series S version and an X version of a game, when, to be honest with you, for us, the market is PC and PS5. And then the article goes into, the background that we've already kind of talked about, but let's read these last two. Dring continued, and with Xbox putting some of the games on PS5, from what I understand, the majority of them will be coming across at some point, assuming it progresses as Xbox believes it probably will. I think Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer, and that was the thing that came out of GDC for me. He added, I thought it would be fine, but then I didn't really factor in that some developers and publishers might just go, yeah, I don't know, is there any point? And that is when you can lose it. So, that is, that's pretty rough, honestly, and it's why I kind of wanted to talk about it, right? We've heard speculation. We've heard absolutely the back and forth, right, of which Xbox games are coming and when. Again, a lot of this is his takeaway, but on top of it is what he was told from two different, one big company. Wonder who that is, right? So that's either a Ubisoft or EA or if it's Square Enix, that one would be interesting, right? Because they're so heavy onto PlayStation. But I wonder who that is. And then again, he said a smaller one, right? One that's not so prominent. So it is his opinion, but it's being backed up by, I guess it's if you believe that he was told this from these companies, it's being backed up by that. So look, I've said it in the past, and I even tweeted it. I'll just kind of recap it here. Is there negatives with Sony being the only console manufacturer? Yes. And in a perfect world, I don't really know or think that I would want that, right? And I'm talking about the future, this hypothetical future. If Sony is the only one making consoles, home consoles, right? Because there's going to be handhelds, and hey, maybe Microsoft does handhelds, and maybe they crush it, right? It's possible. So if Sony's the only one doing home consoles, is there pros and cons there? There is. The con, and the biggest con, is no competition, right? Everything is just on them, and that's maybe a pro, right? They can really push it and go hard, and they have everybody's backing, but the con would be they can take it at their own pace, and there'd be nobody that could challenge them, right? But I do see the future for Microsoft, and we talked about this, months ago. And yes, is it going to take time for this? Is it going to happen tomorrow? No, it's going to take years and years and years. But I think Microsoft being a publisher is definitely possible. I would even say likely, and I don't think a bad thing. I think the bad thing would maybe be the lack of competition for Sony. But the bad thing, or is there a bad thing with Microsoft there? Well, they do officially lose the console war, right? If they care about that, if we care about that. If you drop out and you're in third place already, that is factually what would be happening there, right? You would quote unquote lose. And I guess you could look at that as a con, but honestly, their company, as we've talked about multiple times, if that's not what their want is, it doesn't matter. If they want Game Pass, if they want just people in that subscription, then if they get what they want, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So I really think that's possible. I guess, there is one other con, and it's people that maybe were to say buy the next Xbox console. If they drop a new Xbox console, say in 2 years, and then 2 more years after they drop out and say, okay, we're done, that would be a huge smack to the face of anybody who bought those consoles. So they would be hurting consumers that would buy their products if they were to back out, right? But again, we don't know, number one. Number two, it's a long-term plan, right? Like, they're not going to do this tomorrow. They might not even do this in 2 to 4 years. This might be even longer out. And maybe there's not even home consoles anymore in like 5-10 years, right? I think there will be, but I guess it's possible that there isn't. But again, people are going to spin it how they're going to spin it. And there is pros and cons, absolutely. But for me, I mean, Microsoft as a publisher, which, I mean, they are, but they're also, a manufacturer, them just as a publisher, I don't think it's the worst thing of all time. I think it's maybe the closest you get of like that harmony of all of these games in one place, because Sony really, it's not really going to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They might put it on PC, as we've seen, right? So PlayStation and PC, but to have PlayStation, PC, and Xbox all in one, I mean, right now, Xbox is doing it, right? Because they're the ones bringing their games to PlayStation. If they go full-on publisher, and I know this is crazy, but again, we've talked about it in the past, if the next Halo game is, say, on all platforms, including PlayStation, day one. Now, that would be nuts, and I'm not saying that happens, but maybe like one day it does happen, right? I mean, that is the best case scenario of getting all these games in as many places as possible for as many people to play it, because PlayStation, that's not really their thing, to do it in reverse. So, I honestly think it is possible. We have seen signs of Xbox, like some of those things that he says are not his own observations or his own thoughts. It's the stats. It's literally what's happening. Xbox is like, things are kind of especially overseas. You're seeing sales and they're not good and they're falling. As he says, last year they were falling, this year they're falling more. So that's not like an opinion piece, that's like a factual observation. I do think like that has brought this stuff on. If Xbox was crushing it, they wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be bringing Hi-Fi Rush to PlayStation. I think it's because they see what's going on. They, in a way, caused it because they kind of pivot, for Game Pass and subscriptions. And, again, consoles aren't really their primary thing, even though they do them. So, yeah, they kind of brought it, on themselves, basically, right? But again, if that's what they want, it's what they want. Like, I'm not getting too mad about it. I absolutely understand the idea of, hey, you buy the Xbox console, and then they just say, hey, we're not caring about that anymore. I get how consumers can be mad there. Beyond that, it's really just more like console warrior stuff to me. After that, and I think that's fair, that first part. But honestly, I'm not all that upset about it if it happens. And if it does happen, again, it's not going to happen next year. This is a multi-year thing, and we'll see it play out, or we'll see it coming. And I think we can talk about it more and more as we get closer. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.